She's a physician, retired Army colonel, superior of the Little Workers of the Sacred Heart, and a tireless defender of life. She's also the subject of a brand new book, Sister, Soldier, Surgeon, The Life and Courage of Sister Dede Byrne. Please welcome to the program Sister Dede Byrne and Dr. Leisa Marie Carzon. Thank you both for being here. Sister Dede, I want to thank you first. And this book really begins in your childhood and growing up in a large family. Your father was a physician. Your mom's a homemaker. You have 7 siblings, including your brother Bill, who's now the Bishop of Springfield. What were the lessons you learned growing up in that household? And how did they shape your receptiveness to the multiple callings that lay ahead for you?
Well, I think, first of all, my parents were wonderful leaders. My father was the spiritual guide. I think that's really important. So the family is a home of vocations. I had 5 brothers and I have 2 sisters, and we just, you learn how to stand in line to wait for the bathroom and things like that. So I think bigger is best for families, I think.
Tell me, how did it mark your personality? I mean, obviously, in big families, you learn cooperation. You learn, as you said, to wait your turn. Did it mark you in any other ways?
I don't know. I think I was born with a dislocated hip. My mother diagnosed the condition. And I remember I had a body cast for a year and a half, and my older siblings would drag me across the floor, step on me to get something high on a shelf. And I always joke around and say that, you know, I said, I learned that sometimes being stepped on is really just lifting your others up. So you learn to give and take and to not be the center of attention. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't watch TV that much. We had each other, and we were all big in sports. We weren't big in academics, so we were all really good in some sport event. And I don't know, I guess like many families, but the most important, I would say, is that both my mother and father were daily mass goers. They went to mass every day. My father was a thoracic surgeon, but he went to the 6:45 mass every day. He wouldn't miss mass. He would crawl on all 4s before he'd, you know, miss communion. And my mom would, when we were all at school, she'd go to the 9 o'clock here in McLean, Virginia.
Let's talk for a moment about your multiple vocations. I mean, you attend Georgetown Medical School, as the book says, first. Then you join the U.S. Army while you're still in med school to help pay for the education. How did becoming a doctor lead to your religious vocation?
Well, quite honestly, I think my religious vocation came first, and that was in utero. When, you know, my mother always said my vocation started in utero. So I was always drawn to religious sisters, drawn to missionary work. My father was close friends with and studied with Sister Frederick Needfield, who was a medical mission sister. I met her when I was in high school. I also learned about Mother Teresa of Calcutta during that time. And what she did really resonated with me. It was something that I wanted to do when I grew up. I haven't grown up yet, but something I wanted to do. And so that was really important. So vocation first, nurturing it. My father was a doctor. I have a couple siblings that are doctors, and so I just followed in that realm. And then I heard there was a scholarship program with the Army, and it sounded great because my dad at that time had 5 of us either in college or grad school. So it was really something that would help us. And although he said, you know, I've saved the money, but I said I wanted to do something that could help them in that regard, and I never regretted it. It was bittersweet, but it was so that was as a first-year med student, and that's a health professional scholarship program. It's still going on today.
Sister, in late 2001, you received news that really redirected your religious life. Cardinal Hickey, the longtime Archbishop of Washington, D.C., resigned, and his successor was Theodore McCarrick. Now, Hickey had intended to give you an old convent, but there was a hitch. What happened there, and where did trust in God's will take you and lead you?
I always say, Hickey gaveth, McCarrick tooketh away.
He did that for a lot of people.
You know, during that time, I was at the point now. I'd finished my certification surgery. I was a board certified family medicine surgery, basically for you know, ready for the Lord to use me in any way He wanted to, and I had emptied myself basically of all my free will and design. So anything that happened was to me not surprising, and I was okay with it. And it was during that time, too, that I met the Little Workers of the Sacred Hearts. Father Robert Falabella, who just recently died, was the guide that brought me, introduced me to my now superior, Sister Leisa, who's now gone to heaven. And with emptying myself to my own will, the Lord could then fill me with what He wanted. And it was very beautiful in one way. So because Cardinal Hickey gave me a convent, he was even willing to follow me with, you know, to guide me. He was my guide. And I remember Sister Priscilla, our Mother Teresa's Secretary General, she and I were friends. She said, "I've never seen a cardinal be so receptive to anyone. This must be God's will." But then when McCarrick took it away, it was more of God's seeing how much of a faithful steward I would be for Him, I think.
Well, sometimes you have to be tried. You know, he tests those vocations, and
Right.
you know, and your trust in Him, which is, you know, the way I read it when I was reading the story.
Right.
Sister, over the years you ministered at Ground Zero on September 11th. As you mentioned a moment ago, you served Saint Mother Teresa's. You were her personal physician, and you deployed as a surgeon to Afghanistan for Operation Enduring Freedom.
Yeah.
Give me a sense. I mean, you still travel regularly to the Nuba Mountains of Sudan to give medical aid to the victims of the war there. Throughout all of this, you continue to evangelize. How does God speak to you and direct you as to where to go and what to do, what to spend your time doing?
I've learned in my many, many years of life now to understand that internal stirring in my own heart. Our community spends a lot of time in prayer. In our little house here in D.C., we have adoration 2 or 3 times a day. And I couldn't do anything without the Eucharist and adoration. And our founder said, it's before the most blessed sacrament that I found the love of Jesus and the power of that love. And that's really held true for me through my life. And so I think you just have to trust that hunch that's within your heart to be able to speak out, speak strongly, and know that, you know, you're here for Him, not for anyone else. So to not be afraid, as John Paul II said, be not afraid.
Leisa, how did you come to know Sister Dede, and what inspired you to want to put pen to paper and capture her story now?
Thank you, Raymond. I first met Sister, like most folks, after the 2020 RNC, and I was so excited to see somebody in habit raise her rosary for the whole nation to see and proclaim that she was not just pro-life, but pro-eternal life. I literally cheered in my living room, as did many people of faith. I called her cold, and I just expressed my gratitude for the exemplary courage that this woman showed. I was so excited. I asked for permission to meet her, and when I went to ask for permission to write the book, her response was, "You must be writing a comic book." And then she begged me, could I please wait until she's dead? I assured her, "Sister, we can't wait until you're dead. Our children and grandchildren need you now more than ever. We need her to be our voice."
Sister Dede, I know you fairly well. Give me a sense of what your reaction was when you heard this. I mean, I remember when I went to Mother Angelica and asked her if I could write her biography, she was a little cold to it at first and then said, "Okay, let me pray about it. Let's start and see what happens." That's what she said. But I think she almost said that to try to get me to go away. What did you think when Leisa came to you with this idea?
You know, I was trying my best to discourage her, but nothing would discourage her. I mean, every time we got one bad news, you know, because President Trump had endorsed the book, God bless him, a lot of people were running away. And she persevered. She cut out a couple chapters and threw in new chapters. And so I really admire that, but I wish it wasn't me. I wish I wasn't the topic. But if it's going to be for the glory of God and for you know, maybe vocations, young ladies will see that you can be not only a religious sister, but you can do things with the gifts that God has given you. So, and I get to talk to you, Raymond, which is wonderful.
Well, that's right. See, another fringe benefit, but you could talk to me before there was a book, and I'm sure you'll talk to me after. So, though, look, you've been no stranger to public scrutiny despite your desire to avoid it. When the COVID pandemic began, there was great uncertainty. There were curfews and church closures. And in August of 2020, as Leisa mentioned, you spoke at the RNC, striking a chord with millions of people. You said, I'm not just pro-life, but pro-eternal life. And your words galvanized the pro-life movement at that time. In the book, Dr. Carzon writes, she calls it your Esther moment. And you took a lot of heat for speaking and supporting President Trump at the time. Your thoughts on the recent election that we saw? This historic second term secured by President-elect Trump, and his pro-life record compared to the alternative?
Well, I'm grateful to God that he was elected, because I don't know what would happen to our country if he wasn't in the health. And I think J.D. Vance is wonderful too. They're going to make a great dynamic duo. I do pray that I can have an opportunity to talk to him about the RU-486 and the in vitro fertilization issue. But he's very strong in the life is not only just the unborn, but it's you know, the dignity of a human person, young children, you know, the fighting of the issue of men being in female sports, the transgender issue in the military, which I think has ruined the military, and we need to get back to where we were. So, you know, our dear President Trump is going to correct all those things. The Mexico law, where our tax money is going to pay for contraception, things like that, he's going to undo all that. And I pray that he's going to help get a lot of these young J6ers who are thrown in prison that are still there, for our pro-lifers, Joan Bell, you know, Will Goodman, many who have been in prison for 1.5 years, simply praying at an abortion clinic, a third trimester abortion clinic in D.C., where he's still killing babies in the third trimester. So he's going to do a lot of wonderful things. So I just hope that if he's listening to this, that he lets me have 5 minutes with him on the abortion pill, because we have reversed. We're 88% successful in our little convent of bringing life, helping to our little babies from being aborted from the abortion pill to surviving. It's very successful.
Sister Dede, you've ministered to well, hundreds and hundreds, thousands probably of people, but during the COVID pandemic, you used a medicinal protocol that was very effective. You kept people out of the hospital, prevented further injuries, saved lives. But these were strategies that were shunned by the mainstream medical establishment. You eventually took the D.C. government to court, and you won an exemption from the vaccine mandate. What did that experience teach you, sister? Did it teach you anything?
Well, no, I'm always learning. First of all, shout out to the Thomas More lawyers and Chris Farrar for helping me win that case, and you and Laura Ingraham bringing it out to the open. I just learned that we shouldn't be afraid when it comes to truth, speaking the truth with love. You know, I felt that vaccine was something that was not good for me, in the sense that I didn't want to take something that was either tested by or made by aborted fetal tissue. That was one thing. I was very careful if I was near someone who was elderly or sick. I treated my mother, who's now 101, and Sister Leisa, who was 89 at the time, and we successfully treated everyone, elderly, hundreds and hundreds of people with this therapy. So I learned to trust in God. Each step, it's always a greater level of trust, and to know that with truth and love we can fight and stand strong. As a result of winning, all the healthcare practitioners in Washington, D.C. had their religious exemption accepted. And I would walk in the hospital and people would come up to me that I didn't even know, thanking me for fighting, because I guess I was the tip of the arrow of that fight, and they thought if I went down, the rest can go down. But you know, I didn't have anything to lose. You prevailed. Yeah, I prevailed. I didn't have anything to lose. I didn't have anything to lose. really to fight this issue. I don't have a family, and so if they wanted to strip me away of my medical license, it would be really a harm to all the poor that we take care of in our city through our convent. But so.
Well, Sister Dede, at the end of the book, you and Leisa offer 10 prescriptions, moral prescriptions, if you will, for an ailing nation. I'm going to take a few of these. Holy Mass, of course, Eucharistic adoration, frequent confession, and the Rosary really lead the list. Any other prescriptions that you would share with the audience that you think are crucial at this moment?
Okay. Well, I think, again, with that solid basis of prayer, everything else will follow forward. Making family number one, standing strong, being a faithful husband or a faithful wife. Your family is the most important, so you have to be strong to support them, and don't be afraid to stand strong to support them. And that includes with their education and things like that, to be family first, and everything else will follow.
Well, something you said earlier, truth, standing and speaking the truth, which is harder and harder today, and that commitment to go where it leads you. And those are hard things, particularly when you're under attack, when no one is in your corner. And I love that you exemplified you don't only give lip service to those principles, you live them. Dr. Carzon, I'm going to give you the last word here. Look, when I was doing Mother Angelica's biography, there were things I never imagined there that I discovered. I didn't know she dated anybody in Canton, Ohio. But there were a lot of other controversies with bishops and things that were happening privately. Give me the number one surprise, the biggest surprise that you unearthed as you started to write this book.
I love the way Sister lives her faith, came out of her upper room, which in that case for Sister was her chapel, and permeated culture with beauty, truth, and goodness. So for me, it really, the whole book, her whole life exemplifies not only her threefold calling as a sister soldier and surgeon, but really the way she loves so beautifully. That is the call of this book, to follow Sister from the upper room, from beyond prayer, and to emerge into taking our faith into the public square, to permeate it with beauty, truth, and goodness. Nobody did that as beautifully as she did that.
Sister, I'll give you the last word. Any final messages as we wrap up Advent, move toward Christmas, for the audience? What families should keep in mind?
Well, right now, Jesus, as my brother will say, don't make Jesus a premature infant. So focus on his Advent more, and celebrate his birth on December 25th. But before that, let's focus on the hope that comes with Advent.
Sister Dede, Dr. Carzon, thank you for being here. Sister Soldier Surgeon, The Life and Courage of Sister Deirdre Byrne by Dr. Leisa Marie Carzon is available at bookstores everywhere, including the EWTN catalog. Thank you both for being here, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you.